Lyra looked at Kaelen, her eyes filled with a newfound resolve. The weight of her responsibilities still pressed heavily upon her, but now, she felt a glimmer of hope, a sense that she was not alone in this fight. "I know what I have to do," she said, her voice clear and steady. "I have to break free from the constraints of tradition, from the expectations of the lineage covenant, and from the manipulations of Senator Mordaunt. I have to choose my own path, even if it means risking everything." She reached out and took Kaelen's hand, her touch firm and deliberate. "And I choose you, Kaelen Vane," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "I choose you over duty, over tradition, over everything that I have ever known. I choose a different future, a future where love is not a weakness, but a strength. A future where diversity is not a threat, but a blessing. A future where Elysium is not defined by its past, but by its potential." Kaelen squeezed her hand, his heart swelling with emotion. "I choose you too, Lyra Nissa," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "I choose you over everything that I have ever known. I choose a future where we can be together, no matter what the cost. A future where we can build a better world, a world where love and compassion prevail." He took a step closer, his eyes fixed on hers. "And I promise you, Lyra," he said, his voice filled with conviction, "we will overcome this. Together." Guided by the fragmented memories flooding Kaelen's mind, they reached a hidden chamber deep within the Undercity. The chamber was dimly lit by bioluminescent fungi, revealing a circular platform in the center of the room. On the platform lay the largest fragments of the prophecy crystal, salvaged after the incident in the Great Hall. They shimmered faintly, radiating a faint, ethereal light. "This is it," Kaelen said, his voice barely a whisper. "This is where we can connect with the crystal, where we can understand what is happening to Elysium." Lyra approached the platform cautiously, her hand outstretched. "Are you sure about this, Kaelen?" she asked, her voice filled with apprehension. "We do not know what will happen if we touch it. We could unleash forces that we cannot control." "I know," Kaelen said. "But we have to try. Time is running out, Lyra. We can't afford to wait any longer." He took a deep breath and stepped onto the platform. He closed his eyes and reached out, his hand trembling slightly as he approached the shattered fragments of the prophecy crystal. He hesitated for a moment, then touched them. A jolt of energy surged through his body, throwing him backwards. Images flashed before his eyes, fragments of the past, visions of the future, swirling together in a chaotic vortex of light and sound. He cried out in pain, his mind struggling to process the overwhelming influx of information. Then, suddenly, everything went silent. Lyra watched in horror as Kaelen collapsed onto the platform, his body convulsing. She rushed to his side, her heart pounding in her chest. "Kaelen!" she cried, shaking him gently. "Kaelen, are you okay? What happened?" Kaelen slowly opened his eyes, his gaze unfocused. He looked around the chamber, his expression confused. I don't know," he stammered. "I saw everything. Past, present, future, it was all jumbled together." He sat up slowly, wincing in pain. "But something else happened. I feel different. I feel connected." He looked at Lyra, his eyes filled with a newfound understanding. "I can see it now," he said. "I can see what Asteria was trying to do. I can see what we have to do to save Elysium." As Kaelen spoke, Lyra felt a strange sensation tingling through her body. It was a faint, almost imperceptible warmth, a feeling of connection, of understanding. She looked at Kaelen, and for the first time, she saw not an outsider, not a foreigner, but a kindred spirit, a soulmate. She reached out and took his hand, her touch sending a jolt of energy through both of them. Images flashed through her mind, visions of Asteria, of the past, of the future. She saw the threat that Mordaunt posed to Elysium, the danger that the lineage covenant represented, and the path that she and Kaelen had to take to save their world. The connection to the prophecy crystal brought new understanding, but also a wave of insecurity to Lyra. The potential consequences of their actions weighed heavily upon her. She had always strived for calculated decisions, ensuring stability for Elysium. Now, she was embarking on a path shrouded in uncertainty, fueled by instinct and a bond with someone from another world. "Are we doing the right thing, Kaelen?" Lyra asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Are we truly saving Elysium, or are we leading it to destruction?" Kaelen took her hands in his gaze unwavering. "We're doing the only thing we can do, Lyra. We're following our hearts, we're trusting our instincts, and we're fighting for what we believe in. That's all anyone can ever do." But Lyra couldn't shake off the feeling of doubt. The pressure of leadership, the expectations of her people, the potential consequences of failure, it was all too much to bear. As they tried to piece together a plan, a communication signal broke through, displaying a holographic image of Senator Mordeth. "Princess Lyra," Mordeth began, his voice dripping with condescension. "I understand you have taken refuge in the Undercity with your Earthling companion. A foolish decision, one born of desperation." Lyra straightened her shoulders, meeting his gaze with defiance. "I am acting in the best interests of Elysium, Senator. Something you seem incapable of understanding." Mordeth chuckled, a chilling sound. "You are deluding yourself, Princess. You are blinded by your infatuation with this outsider. You are leading Elysium down a path of ruin." He paused, his expression hardening. "I am giving you one last chance, Lyra. Surrender yourself, and turn over the Earthling to my custody. I promise you, I will ensure the safety and stability of Elysium." "And what will happen to Kaelen?" Lyra challenged. "He will be dealt with," Mordeth said, his voice laced with a sinister undertone. "I will never surrender to you, Mordeth," Lyra said, her voice filled with defiance. "I will fight for Elysium, and I will protect Kaelen." "Then you have made your choice," Mordeth said, his expression turning cold and ruthless. "Prepare yourself, Princess. The time for diplomacy is over. The time for action has come." The communication terminated, leaving Lyra and Kaelen alone in the dimly lit chamber, the Senator's words hanging heavy in the air. Lyra paced back and forth, her mind racing. Mordeth's message was a clear declaration of war. He was no longer content to manipulate from the shadows. He was ready to seize control of Elysium by force. "What do we do?" Kaelen asked, his voice filled with urgency. "He's coming for us. He's going to try to take the crystal. And he's going to try to hurt you." Lyra stopped pacing and looked at Kaelen, her eyes filled with a newfound determination. "We have to fight, Kaelen," she said, her voice resolute. "We have to protect the crystal, and we have to protect Elysium." She looked at Kaelen, and her expression softened. "And we have to protect each other." She took his hand, her touch sending a surge of warmth and strength through both of them. "I do not know what the future holds, Kaelen," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "But I know that we will face it together. We will overcome every obstacle, we will defeat every enemy, and we will build a better future for Elysium." She paused, then added, "Overcome together." Kaelen squeezed her hand, his eyes filled with love and admiration. "Together," he echoed. They looked at each other, their hearts filled with hope and determination. They knew that the challenges ahead would be immense. But they also knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had the power of the prophecy crystal on their side. And that was enough. With their decision made, and their promise sealed, Lyra and Kaelen turned their attention to the task at hand, preparing for the coming storm. Lyra, drawing upon her knowledge of the Undercity, began to gather allies, reaching out to the various factions and communities that resided in the shadows. She spoke of Mordeth's treachery, of his alliance with outsiders, and of his plans to exploit the prophecy crystal for his own gain. She found a surprising number of people willing to support her, people who had long resented Mordeth's oppressive rule and yearned for a better future. They pledged their loyalty to Lyra, promising to fight alongside her against Mordeth's forces. Kaelen, meanwhile, delved deeper into the memories that were flooding his mind, trying to decipher Asteria's warnings and understand the secrets of the prophecy crystal. He discovered ancient rituals, forgotten technologies, and hidden weaknesses in Mordeth's defenses. As they worked together, Lyra and Kaelen's bond grew stronger, their trust deepened, and their love blossomed. They found strength in each other's arms, solace in each other's presence, and hope in each other's eyes. They knew that the battle ahead would be difficult, but they were not afraid. They were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. The Undercity buzzed with a nervous energy. Lyra's call to arms had resonated through the hidden communities, and now, a ragtag army of rebels stood ready to defend Elysium. Smugglers, outcasts, mechanics, and even a few disillusioned royal guards had joined her cause, their faces grim but determined. Kaelen, his mind still swirling with the memories of past rulers, worked tirelessly to coordinate the defense. He used his knowledge of earthly tactics and strategy to devise a plan that would exploit Mordeth's weaknesses and maximize the rebels' strengths. He knew that they were outnumbered and outgunned. But he also knew that they had something that Mordeth lacked, the will to fight for what they believed in. They were fighting for freedom, for equality, for a future where Elysium was not defined by its past, but by its potential. The attack began at dawn. Mordeth's forces, clad in gleaming armor and wielding advanced energy weapons, stormed into the Undercity, their advance relentless. The rebels, armed with cobbled-together weapons and a fierce determination, met them head-on, turning the narrow tunnels and crowded marketplaces into a battleground. Lyra, leading the charge alongside Kaelen, fought with a ferocity that surprised even herself. She wielded her energy pistol with deadly accuracy, taking down enemy soldiers with precise shots. She moved with grace and agility, inspiring her troops with her courage and her unwavering commitment to their cause. Kaelen, meanwhile, directed the rebels' movements, using his tactical skills to outmaneuver Mordeth's forces and exploit their vulnerabilities. He set traps, ambushes, and diversions, disrupting the enemy's advance and turning the tide of the battle. As the fighting raged, Lyra and Kaelen discovered the source of Mordeth's strength. He was being supported by a force from beyond Elysium, a group of mercenaries hired by Astrea and the Lineage Covenant to ensure the preservation of the Elysian bloodline. The mercenaries were ruthless and efficient, their advanced technology and brutal tactics overwhelming the rebels. Lyra and Kaelen realized that they were not just fighting Mordeth, they were fighting the entire Lineage Covenant. "We have to stop them," Lyra said, her voice filled with determination. "We have to break the chains that bind Elysium to the Covenant's outdated ideals." Following Kaelen's tactical insights, Lyra finally confronted Mordeth in the city's central nexus, a chamber built around one of the original pieces of the prophecy crystal, a piece that had not shattered. It was here Mordeth planned to siphon power into a weapon, a signal to alert the rest of the Covenant to Elysium's contamination. Mordeth stood before the device, his face a mask of fanatical zeal. Astrea stood just behind him, a silent, golden specter of judgment. "It is over, Lyra," Mordeth declared, his voice booming through the chamber. "Your rebellion is doomed. The Lineage Covenant will ensure the purity of Elysium, even if it means destroying everything you hold dear." Lyra stepped forward, her eyes blazing with defiance. "You are wrong, Mordeth," she said. "The Lineage Covenant is not protecting Elysium, it is suffocating it. It is holding us back, preventing us from reaching our full potential." "You are blind, Lyra," Mordeth retorted. "You are blinded by your love for this outsider. You cannot see the danger that you are bringing upon us." "I see the danger perfectly clearly, Mordeth," Lyra said. "The danger of clinging to the past, of rejecting the future, of allowing fear to control our lives." She raised her energy pistol, her hand steady. "I will not allow you to destroy Elysium, Mordeth. I will fight for our future, for our freedom, for our right to choose our own destiny." Lyra and Mordeth engaged in a fierce duel, their energy weapons clashing in a shower of sparks. Lyra fought with a skill and determination that surprised even herself, fueled by her love for Kaelen and her commitment to Elysium's future. Mordeth, driven by his fanatical zeal and his desire for power, fought with ruthless efficiency. He used every trick and tactic at his disposal, trying to overwhelm Lyra with his superior strength and experience. As they fought, Kaelen worked feverishly to disable the Covenant device, his mind racing to decipher its complex mechanisms. He used his knowledge of earthly technology and his understanding of the prophecy crystal to find a way to disrupt its connection to the lineage covenant network. The final battle was fierce and destructive, tearing away at the central piece of the prophecy crystal. In one swift movement, as Mordeth took aim, Lyra shot the device, and Kaelen pulled out the mechanism that stopped the energy flowing out. With a surge of power, it exploded. Lyra was knocked to the floor, with only Kaelen able to stand. With Mordeth defeated, his forces scattered, and the Covenant device destroyed, Lyra took to the airwaves, broadcasting a message to the entire galaxy. "People of Elysium, people of the galaxy," she began, her voice clear and strong. "I am Lyra Nyssa, Crown Princess of Elysium. I speak to you today to declare our independence from the lineage covenant. For too long, we have been bound by their outdated ideals, their fear-mongering, and their stifling control. For too long, we have been told who we can be, who we can love, and what we can achieve." She paused, taking a deep breath. "No more. Today, I break the chains of the lineage covenant. We will no longer be dictated by their prejudices, their restrictions, or their narrow-minded view of the galaxy. We will chart our own course, we will embrace diversity, and we will build a future where everyone is free to be themselves, to love who they choose, and to achieve their full potential." Her voice resonated with passion and conviction. "We will rewrite history," she declared. "We will create a new era of peace, prosperity, and understanding. We will show the galaxy that strength lies not in purity, but in diversity. Not in control, but in freedom. Not in fear, but in love." As her message echoed through the galaxy, the people of Elysium erupted in cheers. They had finally broken free from the chains that had bound them for so long. They were finally free to choose their own destiny. In the weeks and months that followed, Elysium underwent a transformation. The rigid social structures began to crumble, the oppressive laws were repealed, and the doors were opened to the wider galaxy. Lyra, with Kaelen by her side, led the way, guiding her people towards a brighter future. She embraced diversity, encouraged innovation, and fostered a climate of tolerance and understanding. Elysium became a beacon of hope, a symbol of what could be achieved when people dared to break free from the constraints of tradition and embrace the power of love and compassion. Lyra and Kaelen, their love stronger than ever, continued to work together to build a better world. They traveled throughout the galaxy, spreading their message of hope and inspiring others to break free from the chains of prejudice and fear. They faced challenges, of course. There were those who clung to the old ways, those who resisted change, and those who sought to exploit the chaos for their own gain. But Lyra and Kaelen persevered, their unwavering commitment to their cause inspiring others to join them. They formed alliances with other races, built bridges between different cultures, and fostered a sense of unity and cooperation throughout the galaxy. They showed the world that love could conquer all, that even the most deeply entrenched prejudices could be overcome with compassion and understanding. Years later, Lyra and Kaelen stood on the balcony of the Great Hall, overlooking the city of Elysium Prime. The city was no longer just a pristine paradise suspended among the clouds. It was now a vibrant, diverse metropolis, a melting pot of cultures and races, a testament to the power of love and acceptance. They held hands, their faces etched with a mixture of joy and weariness. They had fought hard, they had sacrificed much, but they had prevailed. They had built a better future for Elysium, and they had inspired the galaxy to do the same. "We did it," Kaelen said, his voice filled with emotion. "We rewrote history." Lyra smiled, her eyes filled with love and gratitude. "We did it together," she said. "And that is all that matters." They looked out at the city, their hearts filled with hope. They knew that the challenges ahead would be immense. But they also knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had the support of the entire galaxy. And that was enough.